Welcome aboard Rocket Ship, the platform with the most relevant content for competitive examinations. As part of our answer writing series on general studies papers of civil service main examination, we take up a question that you might come across in GS paper 1. So, today's question goes like, British rule disturbed the tranquil way of life of tribals. The result was a series of tribal revolts. Explain giving examples. As you can see, the question is a straightforward one. Actually, it itself establishes a relation between the disturbances caused by the British rule in the way of life of the tribals and the resultant tribal revolts. So again, the question is quite straightforward, that it is as a reaction to the disturbances caused by the British rule that the tribals rose in revolt. But you have to explain it giving examples, which is usually the case with most of the questions in history paper. Sorry. So how we introduce our answer? As you can see, the question somehow talks about two particular periods, the pre-British period as well as the post-British period, or actually the British period. What was the case during the pre-British period, how the tribals' life was a tranquil one, a peaceful one, and how the British period brought disturbances to this way of life. So we could start with talking about the pre-British period as we are doing now. The first taste of British colonialism was felt in Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, which you know that these territories were ceded to the British by the Treaty of Allahabad in 1765, which followed the Battle of Buxar. This was the territory whose margins were populated by tribals. Major tribes like Santals, Oraons, Mundas, Kons, Khasis, etc. had their strongholds in the Chota Nagpur Plateau, Odisha, North Bengal, etc. You can see these are the regions which are on the margin of the territory that was ceded to the British. In the pre-British times, the tribals existed in a kind of splendid isolation, only nominally subjecting to the pre-British rulers. Actually, for example, to the Mughal emperor, they only had nominal, you could say, they only nominally accepted the suzerainty of the Mughals. The rulers not only respected tribal rules and customs, but also were happy to let tribal chiefs conduct their business as usual on the payment of some form of tribute, etc. On the payment of nominal tributes. What actually happened? The British had learned from the the pre-British rulers had learned from the experience that it was not advisable to interfere in the affairs of the tribals, as it would almost always would mean that they would suffer great losses while, you could say, while attacking the tribal territory. So they had learned to let the tribals exist as they wished. And only thing is, the tribal chiefs had to pay some form of tributes. For examples, some elephants or some exotic animals or some ivory products, etc., as a form of gift or tribute to the pre-British rulers. Now, the British rule changed this equilibrium. British infiltration into tribal lands and interference with tribal ways of life elicited reaction manifested as revolts. Now, how the British infiltration affected the tribals? It affected them in numerous ways, which we see shortly. First was the influx of outsiders. You could appreciate that the tribal existed in a kind of isolation from the outside world. They had their unique particular way of life, and when the outside are coming into their territory, there is bound to be some form of disturbance. still more concern to the tribal would be the demographic change that would be brought. That is, if the more outsiders are coming into their territory, there might come a time when the tribal would become a minority in his own native territory, and this would be resented by the tribals for obvious reasons. Then it was loss of forest rights by various acts. For an example, the Forest Act of 1865. In the pre-British rule, the tribal had, you could say, free access to the forest, and in fact, despite that, despite their free access, they used the forest sustainably. But what the British did, they transferred the forest rights to the crown, that is, to the British emperor actually. That means that the tribals lost their free and unrestricted access to the forest. And obviously, you know that the forest and the tribal have a very intimate connection. Virtually, you could say the tribal is almost dependent on the forest, and when his right to the forest was taken away, it was bound to affect him very, very adversely. Now, some new land relations which created private property. You have learned that the British had created private property which was almost a commodity which could be bought and sold. So, and this led to alienation of land. For an example, due to the exorbitant land revenue rate, which would often mean that the tribal had to borrow from the money lender at a usurious, that is, a very, very exorbitant rate, and ultimately he had to surrender his land to the money lender and other such people. Then there was attempt to supplant customary chiefs. This was a major grievance of the tribals as of most Indians, that their own chiefs, their own native chiefs were being replaced by the outsiders. You can appreciate that the native tribal chief had some form of family or fraternal relations with the tribe, because they came from the very same tribe on which they were actually some sort of ruling. The outside chiefs or the outside feudal lords like the zamindars had no such sympathy or fraternal relations with the tribals, and in fact they persecuted the tribals. And this resulted in the tribal rising in revolt. Interference in the cultural practices of the tribal. Unfortunately, as many people consider the tribal customs or like subaltern customs inferior, in the same way the colonial ruler also considered the the customs and traditions of the natives as well as the tribals inferior to the British customs and traditions. This often meant they interfered in the cultural practices of the native and the tribals in the name of reforms. But this would often mean that the native people, the tribal people would be actually, they would be in some form of grief. Actually, it would lead to some form of grievances which often resulted into revolt. Now, taking up these points in detail. The influx of outsiders who accompanied the new British rule was resented by tribals, zamindars, revenue collectors, the enforcers, that is the you could say the strongmen who accompanied the zamindars to enforce their rules. Each persecuted the tribals, laying their hands on the property and honor of the tribals. For example, sometimes they were accused of outraging the modesty of tribal women. The British had also adopted the policy of demographic change to weaken the tribals, to weaken the rebellious Pahadiyas of the late 18th century. The late 18th century saw the Pahadiya tribe of modern day Santhal Pargana in Jharkhand rising in revolt. To weaken the rebellious Pahadiyas, the British brought the Santhals into Pahadiya territory. This was an earlier form of demographic change as a means of strategy. Santhals too were to face the brunt of British scheming, that is British, you could say British strategy. The outsiders like the zamindars, forest contractors, etc., oppressed the Santhals, and therefore they were called Dikus. They were addressed as Dikus, that is blood sucking parasites actually. The Zamindars, the forest contractors, etc., were called Dikus by the Santhals, and Diku means blood sucker or blood sucking parasite. The reaction was the Santhal Hul of 1855 to 56. It was a major rebellion which was led by Sido Kanu Chand Bhairav, and you could also say their two sisters. These four are brothers, and Fulo and Jhanu are their two sisters. So it was actually a glorious episode in India's history. हाँ 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 sorry for the interruption. The tribals had unrestricted rights over forests. Coming to the forest rights, practicing slash and burn farming, and rights over the usufruct. What usufruct means? For an example, some tree has been felled by a storm, and some fruits which have like fallen in during a wind actually. So most of these products the tribal could claim as his own. What happens now that the British ended this practice of tribal rights over the forest, and as we know, they transferred the forest rights into the crown. This entire tribal economy suffered a jolt. You could understand now the tribal could not practice their traditional method of agriculture, that is the slash and burn agriculture. They could not hunt for food as they could use earlier, they practiced earlier. Now they could not hunt for food. So these things meant that the entire tribal economy suffered a jolt. This was a call for revolts like the Bastar revolt 1910 led by Gundadhar. He was a leader of the Dhurva tribe who rose in revolt against the restriction on the forest access for the tribals. Moreover, the new land relations like the permanent settlement created individual rights, abolishing communities' rights over land. This, along with the exploitative and exorbitant or extortionary revenue rates, led to alienation of tribal land. As we have discussed, if the tribal would fail to pay the land revenue, either the government would confiscate his land, or to pay the land revenue he would have to borrow from the money lender, and if he was not able to repay the money lender, he would be forced to surrender his land to the money lender. The British attempted to supplant the traditional chiefs with new feudal lords. As you can understand, these new lieges, that is the new lords, had no sympathy for their tribals because they did not belong to the tribal community as earlier. This was one of the triggers for the Coal Rebellion of 1828-33 of Chota Nagpur and the Sardari Ladai, which was to follow, and later fed actually, FED, later, oh, it is later, sorry, it is later, or later, sorry, it is later, that is afterwards, and later fed Bhagwan Bursa Bhagwan Birsa Munda's Ulgulan of the late 19th century. Actually, the coal rebellion was because the British were trying to supplant the traditional local chiefs, and even after the coal rebellion was suppressed, there was some form of slow burn disturbance which was called the Sardari Ladai, which you can understand. Sardar means the chief. Basically, this was a struggle waged by the traditional chiefs. And after some time, this very Sardari Ladai took a vast form, took a bigger form, and under the leadership of Bhagwan Birsa Munda, it turned into the Great Munda Revolt, or the Ulgulan of later 19th century. Now, the British interferences into the religio-cultural practices of tribals, the missionaries, scurrilous attacks on the gods and the cultural practices of the tribals, etc., to elicited revolt. Some of the examples are Kondh uprising of Odisha, Jaintia rebellion of present day Meghalaya, actually present day Meghalaya of present day Meghalaya, etc. So how we sum up? Actually, we can sum up by saying that the British rule had brought many disturbances into the life of the tribals, like the influx of outsiders who had no form of sympathy or fraternal feeling for the tribals, the loss of forest rights for the tribal by the various forest acts, the new land relations, which meant that the tribal was alienated, the tribal had to lose his own land, and moreover the attempt to supplant customary chiefs and interferences into the cultural and religious practices of the tribals. All of these grievances combined to result in a series of tribal revolts against the British. But before we call it a day, we have to yet again remind you that you are most welcome to type your own model answers in the comment section below. As we have not much time left for the actual examination, that is the mains starts somewhere around the around 20th September. So we have something like 40 days on our hand. We can still practice some form of answer writing, or in this case typing your answer in the comment section below for the next 10-15 days. As far as practicable, we would try to evaluate your answer so that you have some sense of your strengths and weaknesses and you could work on them. This would actually stand you in good state during your actual examination. Anyway, we wish you all the best as usual. Thank you.